Let me start with a question. How many world-changing inventions like AI were meant to transform everything, but never actually took off? In 1863, New York City imagined a silent, air-powered pneumatic subway beneath its bustling streets, like giant tubes, invisible and humming, ready to shoot passengers through the underground like spit paper through a straw. This marvel promised to revolutionize how we travel beneath the noise and chaos of city life. Investors were dazzled by the vision and curious crowds lined up for test rides. But quietly, this dream was smothered under layers of politics and forgotten beneath thick dust never to be run again. Or take the Dinosphere, a wild single-wheeled vehicle built in 1930, inspired by Leonardo da Vinci sketches. It looked like a shiny, futuristic orb rolling through the streets like a giant metal bubble, trying to roll forward. Headlines buzzed with excitement. But it was slow, clunky, and impossible to steer, so it simply vanished. Then, as you know, in the 1970s, brought us the jetpack, the ultimate symbol of freedom and flight, a roaring promise that by the year 2000, everyone will fly to work. We were meant to imagine strapping a rocket onto our backs and soaring over traffic jams, the wind whipping past our helmets, but the reality was far less graceful. Jetpacks were noisy, dangerous and short-lived machines that barely lifted off the ground before sputtering out. Meanwhile, the world stayed firmly on its feet, walking forward without them. And finally, the Segway launched in 2001. Amid fanfare and frenzy, cities went so far to redesign sidewalks, smoothing pathways to welcome this sleek, self-balancing scooter. Billionaires bought fleets of them, imagining a new era of urban transport, but it never caught on. Awkward in crowds, clumsy in corners, too optimistic about the world's readiness to change. It rolled out, but didn't quite roll in. So what happened? As the great American philosopher Harry D. Brody once said, what society deems important is enshrined in its art. Today, I want to take you on a journey, not just through art history, but into the deeper struggle beneath it, the ongoing tension between invention and human reason, moral intuition, and the humility required to extend ourselves wisely through the tools we create. From the precise clarity of the Renaissance to the intricate codes of the digital age, this isn't merely a story of progress, it's a story of resistance, restraint, and thoughtful reflection. You can see this tension in the brushstrokes of history. Impressionism broke free from rigid control with loose emotional gestures, a rebellion of feeling over form. Pointillism returned order, dot by dot, like the first algorithms. Post-Impressionism pushed back again. Van Gogh's thick, chaotic swirls weren't about logic. They were human, raw, alive. Now once more we live in that tension. AI accelerates. Algorithms shape our feeds, our choices, even our identities. But history whispers this too. It's a phase. The world doesn't change just because something is new. It changes when people care. We still care about meaning, ethics, presence. We still push back. Because just because we can doesn't mean we should. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's true. I understand many of you face a difficult choice. Should you go back to university and dive deep into mathematics, or should you enroll in an advanced machine learning course at Caltech? Should you keep upskilling technically, or is there something more essential to grasp? Through the lens of art history, I see a reoccurring truth. Technology dazzles and promises to reshape the world, but morality, reason, and humanity always push back. In the coming moments, I'll walk you through a few periods where technology was the heartbeat of society and where human values stepped in to quickly reshape its course. This story can unfold in a few key stages. The Renaissance, 1400s to 1600s. Technology was kinda like genius and harmony. Technology during the Renaissance dazzled artists as a manifestation of human brilliance and divine order. It sparked curiosity, inspired invention, and blended seamlessly with the pursuit of beauty and knowledge. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci didn't just depict machines, they engineered visions of flight, war, anatomy, portraying technology as a symbiotic extension of the human mind. Albrecht Dührer's precision with mathematical perspective etched technology logic into art itself. Why this focus? The era was fueled by the rediscovery of classical Greek engineering, patronage from science-loving elites like the Medici, and a world where art, science, math, and spirituality harmonized in the pursuit of truth. But guess what? It transitioned out. By the 1600s, technology shed its aura of mystery and radical genius, settling into the realm of craftsmanship and utility. It became functional rather than wondrous. Artists pivoted towards human emotion, drama, and narrative, stepping fully into the Baroque period where swirling frescoes and gilded gold statues and heavy velvet drapes set the stage. The world was no longer dazzled by invention alone. Instead, it sought to feel deeply. The machine receded into the background as stories and passions took centre stage, much like the grand courts where nobles in towering powered wigs and sumptuous silk gowns performed a daily ritual of spectacle and power. Here, morality, reason, and humanity pushed back against the cold mechanics, demanding that art and life remain richly textured, profoundly emotional, and unmistakably human. The Dutch Golden Age in the 1600s and its fascination with maritime technology. Here, technology was a symbol of dominance, control, and expansion. Ships, navigation tools, and mechanical devices were emblems of empires stretching across oceans. Painters like William van der Velde captured naval bases with meticulous detail, turning the tech into a narrative of national pride and military might. Jacques-Louis David later glorified Enlightenment reason and engineering as the foundation of progress. The rise of colonial empires and trade networks made maritime technology central to identity and survival. Tech was weaponized and commercialized, a tangible measure of power. But guess what? It transitioned out as Enlightenment ideals emphasized morality, reason, and the human form. Neoclassical painters favored philosophy and ethical virtue over mechanics. Technology became a tool at the edges of human drama, no longer the protagonist, but a silent servant. In the Industrial Revolution, 1800s, technology was sublime, dangerous, and dehumanizing. First, there was Romanticism in the early to mid-1800s. The Industrial Revolution plunged artists into a paradox, all mixed with dread. Technology was colossal, sometimes a monstrous force, reshaping landscapes and lives. J.M.W. Turner painted trains barreling through pastoral scenes with a furious energy that both mesmerized and threatened. Caspar David Friedrich contrasted nature's eternal power with man's disruptive machines, evoking a sense of loss and existential unease. The visible scars of factories, smoke and steam engines made industrial progress impossible to ignore. Artists asked, can nature endure this onslaught? Technology was a storm on the horizon, sublime but terrifying. Then came realism from the mid to late 1800s. As factories churned and cities swelled, artists like Gustave Courbet and Jean-Francois Mallet turned their gaze to the toils of labour and industrial fatigue. Technology became harsh and unforgiving, a mechanised oppressor stripping dignity from workers. Art stopped celebrating machines and instead exposed their brutal, dehumanising consequences. But you guessed it, it transitioned out. By the late 1800s, the omnipresence of machines bred artistic exhaustion and disillusionment. The mechanical loss of its novelty became a stale symbol of alienation. Many artists retreated inward, exploring symbolism, mysticism, and abstraction as antidotes to industrial monotony, searching for meaning beyond the machine's grind. In modernism, from the 1880s to the 1840s, technology was utopia, alienation or form. The futurists in this camp celebrated appreciated the machine's dynamic speed and revolutionary potential. Filippo Tommaso Marinetti and L. Lasitsky embraced movement, geometry, and industrial power as the future's heartbeat. Technology was a herald of utopia, a liberator of human potential and modernity. And as you know, then came data and surrealism, where tech was alienation. Artists like Duchamp and Max Ernst mocked the haunted and mechanized world. Tech became a dreamlike nightmare, a fractured symbol of societal madness after the horrors of World War I, trench warfare, gas and tanks. Surrealists exposed technology's uncanny capacity to dehumanize and alienate. Why this split the catechism of war-shattered optimistic views, forcing artists to wrestle with tech's dual nature as progress and destruction, promise and threat. But you guessed it, it transitioned out. Post-World War II, technology mutated into atomic weapons, bureaucratic systems and consumer culture. Overwhelming and impersonal, abstract expressionism rejected literal tech imagery, retreating into raw emotion. Surrealism shifted into symbolism and subconscious imagery. Technology became a shadow, looming but no longer directly confronted. In post-war, mid-century 1950s to 70s, technology was a system, a spectacle, and a Cold War fear. Technology became ubiquitous, yet invisible, underpinning the Cold War. Television, automobiles, and nuclear threat. Artists like Namju Paik transformed TV screens into playful, interactive art. Warhol's mass-produced consumer icons as cultural commentary. Zantugali's mechanical sculptures self-destructed to critique industrial impermanence. The media explosion thrust technology into the collective consciousness, not as mere tools, but as systems, spectacles, and symbols of societal anxiety. But as you know what's coming, that's right. It transitioned out. By the late 70s, technology was so embedded it became assumed background noise. Conceptualism shifted focus from machines themselves to ideas and systems. Art became more about conceptual frameworks than mechanical devices. And then in the digital era, the 1990s till now, technology transformed into a lens through which we perceive ourselves and the world. Internet and digital tools blur the boundaries now between reality and virtuality. Artists like Hito Style and Trevor Paglen probe surveillance and machines' vision's impact. Reef Anadol uses AI to transform data into poetic, immersive memories. Sophia Crespo and Ian Cheng dream in AI-driven organic worlds. Tech is no longer just external, it redefines identity, memory, ethics, and creativity. Artists stop asking, what does technology do? And instead wonder, what is this technology doing to me? Think of Turner's train, a wild force slicing through peaceful countryside, or Warhol's repetitive prints turning mass production into art itself. Like Warhol, I once saw a woman on stage a few years ago in Sydney, Australia, spread paint across her privates, then grab a ream of paper and start mass producing her private parts by sitting on each piece of paper and passing the prints around the audience in the theatre. Uncomfortable, yes, but mass produced. These artists didn't just depict machines or bodies, they questioned what those machines and acts meant for our souls. Today, Hito Styler probes surveillance, showing us how technology watches us just as much as we use it. History proves that every era's relationship with technology mirrors its hopes and fears. Artists who embrace this dialogue succeed in capturing the spirit of their time. Their works endure because they speak not just of machines, but of the human spirit grappling with change. Look, you probably don't need to master AI or pass some fancy exam at Caltech. This whole tech hype is really just a phase. Morality always wins. Humanity always wins. The media just loves playing into our anxieties. So what does that mean for you? First, remember that technologies shaping our life aren't just tools. They are sparks for creativity, identity, and transformation. Step 1, stay curious. Like the Renaissance masters, ask how technology can lift your ideas higher. Step 2, think critically. Like the Romantics, weigh the costs and consequences of progress without limits. Step 3, embrace change like today's digital artists. Experiment, adapt, and use new tools to share your vision. Here's some free advice. Set goals that incorporate both technical and creative thinking. Use technology intentionally, not just as convenience, but as a medium for self-expression. Remember, the machines and tools you face are just extensions of your own potential. Every artist, inventor, and creator who changed the world began with a single step into the unknown. Believe in your ability to shape technology. Don't be shaped by it. Let curiosity, courage, and creativity guide your path. You are part of this great ongoing story, a story where technology and art combine to redefine what it means to be human. Embrace the challenges and wonders ahead. Create boldly, dream without limits. Let your voice be the spark that lights the future. Today, we traced a path from the Renaissance to the digital age, exploring how technology reflects and shapes human experience, not just as a tool, but as a lens of our fears, hopes, and the emotional weight we carry. It's completely normal to feel anxiety and uncertainty as the world shifts around us, but you don't need to master AI or machine learning to be part of that story. You're probably already doing just fine, you know. In the Baroque period, they pushed back hard against new inventions. If it wasn't bursting with drama and emotion, like their wild ceiling frescoes and golden statues, they didn't think it was worth bothering with. Machines just couldn't compete with that kind of flair. Maybe what you're feeling, the tension, the passion, the heaviness, is exactly what connects you to something deeper, something uniquely yours. Now it's your turn. Step forward and engage with technology, not as a passive observer, but as a thinker, a participant, an author of your own journey. Pick up your tools, whatever they are. Explore, question, experiment, reflect. Let technology be a lens through which you see and shape your own world, your own story, and leave a positive mark on this unfolding moment. Is the future something that simply happens to us, or is it something we co-create with intention and heart? As you move forward, know that you carry within you the power to shape how technology and humanity unfold, whether they clash, merge, or transform into something new and beautiful. You are capable of guiding this journey with wisdom and courage. You've got this.